Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. We're out here at the Laverne stage races. This is day two or stage two of a 3 day stage race. This will be my first 3 day stage race where you have a cutoff or, elimination times. So we were supposed to start on Friday with a time trial of GMR, which is Glendora Mountain Road. It's one of the popular and famous roads in our area here. Pretty challenging. It was supposed to be a 4 mile time trial. Um, Something happened with permitting or jurisdictions or something on Friday, and that was canceled. So here I just started off digging myself a hole on stage two, which is a 56-mile road race with about 4,000 feet of climbing. I got to the starting line late, so I was completely in the back. Couldn't hear the instructions, and I heard the official telling us something about, hey, we're going to neutral start, no attacks, no sprinting. And I thought he said until we make the right-hand turn. So I thought all this was neutral right here, and it wasn't. What he actually said was until we get on the right side of the road, which kind of doesn't make sense because the first guys that start, they're going to be on the right side of the road immediately and they can attack, which they did. And there's pretty much Cat 3s, a bunch of Cat 3s. I'm sorry, this is the open Cat 3-4 race. And there's a bunch of Cat 3s already attacking off the front as we started. So I'm definitely caught in a really bad spot, but it's no one's fault but my own. I put myself back here. I wasn't on the grid in the staging area up front. You know, road races and climbing is not my thing to begin with, so there's definitely no reason for me to be back here. I need to be up there in the peloton, protected, where I can save some energy and draft. And I'm back here off the back with the accordion effect, and it's hot from the beginning. If you look, that's a little 500-600 watt surge already, and then it's held. We have to hold, 300 to 400 watts, and they're still pulling away from me. So definitely wasn't expected, wasn't up to speed yet. There's about 8-9 of us off the back right here that are, you know, just trying to catch up. And even though it slows down a little bit, we have almost 90 people in this crit. So if you can see the 20 people in front of me, there's another 70 people stretched out all the way up to the, basically to the intersection already. So yeah, just trying to attach when, it's a little slow down acceleration. Everyone's familiar with everyone that races, we're familiar with the accordion effect being at the back of a peloton. And yeah, it just didn't click onto me. I know this road, I know this course. Yeah, it didn't click that it's not going to slow down. Like, there's no way it's going to bunch up. And I didn't realize that the guys off the front were going so hard. It was already a breakaway within this first little half a mile. There's already a breakaway. There's always one guy off the front and two guys bridging. So yeah, I found that out later, obviously. But yeah, I'm basically in the hurt locker already. It's basically like we just did two, I don't know, 30-second, 40-second sprints or so. And yeah, I'm in a bad spot. I dug a hole. I, of course, know it now. This road's pretty beat up, so that's why I just didn't jump on that guy immediately there. So I look over, make sure the other guys are a little further back, and I jump on. But even jumping onto this guy who's trying to jump onto the next guy is we're all in almost a flat out, going kind of flat out here. And yeah, it's just a hard effort, and basically off the back, and there's going to be a lot of people off the back. To put it in perspective, we started it with about 90 riders, and if you get lapped, you're eliminated. So if you get lapped, you're eliminated, and you cannot race the next day. We only had 43 people finish this race. Some due to a crash that's coming up. There's a big crash coming up in a second, and some due to being lapped or just dropping out of the race. Yeah, it was difficult. I'm a pretty low FTP guy. Usually I'm gonna conserve energy and wait for a sprint at the end. Obviously in a road race or circuit race, that's not that's not something you can do well. There's always going to be times when the road goes up that you're going to have to put in your own effort, but it's still easier with the group, and that's where I need to be. So I basically dug myself a hole right from the beginning, starting there, not hearing the instructions. I only found out what the instructions were because on my wife's video, I heard him repeat the instructions to them, and that's where I knew it was the right side of the road, not the first right turn. Which, of course, yeah, it makes sense why everybody took off so hard. So basically, I'm in conservation mode right here. I'm like, okay, we got 60 miles almost, so we're 1 mile into a 56-mile race, so we have 55 miles to go. So now I'm just like, okay, if I try to go any harder, I'm going to completely blow up. So now I'm just trying to settle into a pace that I know I can complete for 60 miles and just pick off as many people as I can. Again, this is a 3-4 field mixed. I know I'm not the slowest guy in the field or anything, so now I'm just waiting for people to blow up, fall back, and I hope that I can catch a pocket of 6 to 8 riders or something that we can end up working together. So now I'm just trying to steady my pace and my effort out and try to make up some spots where I can. This section here that we're on is really beat up. It's we call it cobblestone. It's a, I don't know, half-mile effort or so that we call cobblestone. It probably averages about 3%, but it goes up to 8% or so. And it's one of the local routes that we do. So that's part of the reason why there's a crash. This park, if you don't know it, some of the road is beat up like this, and then there's some tree roots that come out and crack the road, and then the tree roots are kind of protruding through the asphalt. And from what I understand is one of the out-of-town riders, so you can see some of the tree roots there to my right. It's those type of cracks, but they get higher and they have roots underneath them. But from what I understand, one of the Northern California riders that were down and didn't know the course was kind of riding relaxed with his hands on the tops while he ran over some tree roots, and it just snapped the bars out of his hands. He went down, took down about 25 or so riders. I paused the film when I was making this to see how many riders I can count when I went by, and at the time that I went by, which of course I'm about a minute or a minute and a half now after the crash, maybe 2 minutes after they're actually down, and there's still 19 riders down when I go by. Unfortunately, one of those riders was my teammate Robert Nelson, but I did not see him when I went by. He's actually on the ground behind another rider that's standing messing with his bike, so I didn't notice him. I slowed down and I looked through and didn't notice that my teammate was down, so I kept going. And I didn't really notice he was down until the next time coming around. So right here is my life flashes before my eyes because the sheriff at the end of the road here lets a truck come out right in front of me, and that truck slow rolls when I'm hitting 43 miles per hour. And it doesn't look so bad on film, but I have to actually go around to the tail end of this truck here. And if you see, like when I pass where he's at, there was nothing I can do about that. That closing speed was pretty fast. And the guy wasn't even looking at me. And it just didn't make any sense. We had a lot of near misses with vehicles in the race. Not in this race, but in the crit race on Sunday. And yeah, just not too happy about that. I mean, going 43 miles per hour on a, downhill with a sheriff at the end of the intersection trying to regulate traffic, which, just slow rolled a truck right in front of me. So anyway, I'm coming up on the crash now, and it was a pretty bad crash. I heard as many as 5 broken collarbones. I don't know if that's the truth. I know my teammate Robert did break his collarbone, and but there was at least 4 or 5 riders that got transported to the hospital. So that's the little aftermath of it. And when I come around the second time, they're going to neutralize all of us there. There's two fields racing right now, or two main fields racing, and that's the open category 3-4, which was blazing fast, and then the 40 plus 1-2-3, or 1-2. I can't remember which, if they went to category 3 or not today. But that field is blazing fast also, and Sharon Smith, defending national champion in that age group, he won that race also. Got in a breakaway of 4 and then sprinted away. So in hindsight, knowing how this played out, I should have actually stopped there at the crash site. One, I would have seen my teammate and my race would have been over at that point because I had to help him get, get some medical attention. But even so, if my teammate wasn't there, being that I'm off the back, I probably should have stopped there anyway and formed a little chase group with those that can still continue the race. But instead, I saw a rider up in front of me with the red kit. So I said, okay, let me catch up to that rider and whoever else we can gather up and see if we can form our own chase. And unfortunately, when I end up catching this rider, which is coming up after we make the right turn here, when I end up catching that rider, it turns out the rider's not even in our race. It's just a local person out riding the course, which we had a lot of that too, a lot of people mixing into the course and some almost causing accidents. And yeah, that just was another downer of this weekend. But it's a very big course. It's a 7-mile circuit, very popular local circuit and area. We also have mountain bike national championship here, so it's a very popular spot with a lot of cyclists and a lot of activity on the weekends. So I can see the rider up the road there, and I'm like, okay, let me try to catch up to this rider. It's going to get fast. I'm also trying to recover. It may not look like I was putting in such a hard effort all this time, but trust me, I was. And I was in the red after about the first 3 minutes of this race. I was already in the red and just trying to find any spot that I can to recover. At the same time, I know I can't be just cruising around in zone 1. So I was trying to stay at least above 200 watts, and that can at least keep my momentum going. So, but what I didn't know is Dalton, I think Thornsberry, that runs his own YouTube channel, Walt Does Bikes. He has a new team. I don't really know the name of his new team, but him and Zach, they had 4 guys in this race. I think 2 of them crashed out. All of them went down, but I think 2 are out of the race. They formed a group and they come by me right here. Dalton yells up, tells me to jump on, but they're coming by with so much speed. I hit 600 watts real quick and I'm already popped. So I'm trying to grab onto the back of them, and yeah, they come by me with so much speed, I couldn't even grab onto the back of them. They did a great job too, because they ended up chasing down a couple people, and with the when the race got neutralized, they ended up get back in it, getting to the front, and I think Zach ends up taking the field sprint and gets 5th place. So that's a great job by Zach, and just regrouping after a crash and being able to finish in the top 5. So as you can see, this course isn't slow. I mean, we have a lot of hills, it's very taxing, but there's also a lot of speed in it. And to be honest with you, that's something your legs have to prepare for. Hard climbs, then fast, then hard climbs. Just that tempo change is pretty crazy. Coming up to a sharp right-hander, you definitely got to go on the left side of the road here. There's a bunch of cracks in the road, so it's hard to modulate your brakes. You got to take the good angle here, and it's really dusty. You can easily go down there. And now we're coming up to the hardest part of this road, and this is called Heckler Hill. Heckler Hill starts off right here. This first little kicker is going to be 20%. You got to hit it with some speed. Then it flattens out, and I say flattens out, but it flattens out to about 8-9%, and then it ramps back up to 12, 13, 14%. So that little hill there, which you didn't get to see it on the grade because I just ran up it so fast, that hill hits 20% right there, and then it flattens out here. You can see the flat part that I'm calling flat is 9%. So, and now down to 6 or whatever, but it's going to jump right back up to I don't know, 12, 13, maybe 14%. I don't know the exact number. I know it's at least 12% that it jumps back up to. So now in front of me, I believe that's Ace in front of me. Not 100% sure, but I knew Ace was in front of me at one point. And I was trying to catch up to him. But again, I'm really in the red already. It's unfortunate my heart monitor didn't never hooked up. If you can see my heart right here, I was well in the red the entire time. I was probably a good 190 beats or something right now, and yeah, I have no power. This is all I can do right now. And we're only going 7 miles per hour, you know. So normally you're gonna have to put in at least 400 watts on this climb here to keep momentum with the pack, and I'm just trying to survive at this point, just doing all I can to get up this hill. So yeah, obviously Ace is struggling too. He ended up having to avoid the crash. He's a Cat 3, does some of the Pro 1, 2, 3 races, but he's more of a sprinter also. You know, he's a larger rider, so, you know, again, if we're not in the peloton, we're gonna suffer. We have to be in the mix and there in the peloton, getting some rest on these on a lot of the flats, so we can end up, you know, using our energy up these hills. So every time a rider comes by, it's after an effort, and I have no energy to jump on the back. I know I got to give it my all basically and jump on it. It's hard. I'm trying, and you know, at the moment, my brain is saying, you know, no, you need oxygen. I know you need that wheel, but you also need oxygen. So, yeah, it was a very difficult race for me. It's not my type of race to begin with, but you know, I was trying to get out there, get some fitness. That guy was in the crash. If you see his left bar tape is just dangling. But, you know, good on him. He got back up and he's rolling again and he's making some progress. So it's going to be, I'm only going to show this one lap of the race because that's all I recorded initially. I planned on recording the first lap and the last lap just because the laps are like 20-minute laps. So after the first lap, though, where the crash was, they neutralize us and they restart the race. But when we restart the race, I looked to the right and I noticed my teammate was there and I can see his shoulder was sticking straight up. You know, he was pretty dusted up and had his jersey off. The EMTs were working on him, and I decided to. If it was a crit, I probably can keep going and just come by and tell people like, hey, Rob's down, you know, go over and get him some help. But we're on a 7-mile circuit, so that's 20 minutes later before he even gets some help. So his girlfriend was there with the car and all that kind of stuff. So I had to go back to the feed zone, let her know that he was down and get him some medical help. So after the restart, when I noticed he was down, I just pulled myself out of the race and, you know, got him to the emergency room basically, or helped, you know, his girlfriend get him, and I took care of his bike and all that kind of stuff. So that was basically the end of my race. But just to finish out this lap in the circuit, this is another fast part of the course where it's just rolling hills. And unfortunately, I'm just popped. I'm done. Just doing all I can right here to try to get a little recovery in me. And again, we're only, what, 6 miles in, it looks like. I don't even think we're 6 miles in, honestly. Because we definitely have more than a mile to go. Yeah, I'm sorry. We are probably 6 miles in because I am about a mile from the start-finish line. But yeah, we're only 6 miles in, got 50 miles to go. So at the pace I was going to try to catch up, I cannot sustain that. So I got to get into something sustainable and then just try to pick people off little by little and form a group. So anyway, this section here just is all fast speed. I say fast. It's fast if you're in a group. Solo, I might be able to touch 25 miles per hour through here just to sustain it, but at the moment I'm just trying to recover. So it's just some rolling hills. It rolls back up, and there was actually a headwind as well on this section. but it's just a rolling hill. We'll get a little bit of a downhill, and then we're back into the start-finish line. So, being that this is a 3-4 race, and there was no open category 4, no cat 5s at all, for men or women. It was weird because there was a guy in this race that it's his very first race ever. And I don't really know how that happened. He's a cat 5. He somehow got into the 3-4 field, and I just don't know how that's regulated. Now, I'm not calling him out or anything. He just signed up. I mean, he was allowed to sign up, so he signed up and raced. But he told me on the starting grid that this was his first race ever. And I was thinking like, oh, you picked a real serious race for your first race ever. And, I think honestly the 3s are way too fast anyway. Anytime you have any type of climbing route, the cream's gonna rise to the top, and there's a huge difference from crits. Circuit races, road races, any type of climbing or mountain finishes, they are not the same as crits. The field will not be as close or never stay together for the most part. And that's because the draft effect is a lot less, and everyone has to do their own power up the hills. There's always going to be great separation, but that also means there's going to be greater closing speeds, things like that. And I really don't think in this type of field, this type of race with the prestige that this race has and brings people from other states and all that to the race, I don't really think the Cat 3s and 4s should have raced together. Not to mention 90 people with the road being narrowed down like this is a lot of people, and that probably contributed to the amount of people in the crash. And then if people were to survive, having a 3-4 field of 90 on that next crit race, that's pretty congested as well. Even though the crit's pretty wide, that's the crit circus to the left going up that hill. But I don't know, I just think category 4, category 5 usually sells out in our area. It usually caps at 75 riders. Don't know why there just wasn't a separate field or just a separate category 4 field by itself, because category 4 sells out every weekend also. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Obviously for me, this is just not my type of race, and I probably won't sign up for it unless I'm like really riding well and in peak form. Obviously I'm trying to get back into shape from my earlier crash this year and then all the races I've missed. So, but I don't think that factored in at all. It was really just, I put myself in a hole starting in the back. That accordion took off, and I was yo-yoing and putting in way too much effort. And being that I have like a sprinter type profile, that first little 2-minute effort at 300 and whatever watts, 400 watts, that already popped me. So that was the start finish line. I completed 1 lap, and believe it or not, I PR'd that lap by like 6 minutes. I did it in 22 minutes, basically solo. I think the group was doing it in about 20 minutes a lap. So anyway, you're gonna see a big group come by me. This is the Masters 40 plus 1, 2, 3. After they pass by, I'm basically gonna shut the camera off. When I roll around to that crash spot again, both groups were neutralized and we restarted, but I pulled myself out to help my teammate Rob and get him to the hospital and then take care of all of his equipment and stuff. So yeah, Rob, hope you get better soon. Sucks that you crashed in only your 4th race. Rob has first race of the season, and his first race, he got a podium, and then he got 2 top 10s, and now he has a broken collarbone. He's going to be out for a while, probably the rest of the season, and who knows, his racing may be done forever. I don't know. So anyway, thanks for watching, and Tour de Marietta next week. Also, I was since I didn't finish the race, I'm eliminated. If you don't finish the race, or if you get lapped, you cannot race the crit the next day. So I have no footage of the crit. Didn't race it. So anyway, I see you guys next time, and it's a rough year for me so far, but I will get my act together and get the show on the road.